Vital Training Solutions is a division of Your Vital Solutions, which is one of my companies. So my name is Laota Rasul. I'm also known as the Kingmaker. I have a corporation. I own a corporation with divisions in 5 industries, soon to be 9. One of them is Your Vital Solutions, that focuses on providing resources, training, and services to small business owners, independent contractors, and entrepreneurs. I'm sorry, guys, that was the fireplace. There's like these little glass beads in there, and then every time they touch the thing, it gets too hot and they pop. So I have a little bit of history about me. I have been training sales for probably the last decade. I have been in sales for probably 12 years, kind of on and off. And because of the fact that I was good at it, I always found myself in a position to be in some industry that involved sales. But I think what I love most about sales is the fact that it deals with psychology. It deals with the way that you think. It deals with being able to say something a particular way, function a particular way, move a certain way, do a certain thing, frame something a particular way, and get somebody to do whatever you want them to do. So that was what attracted me to sales, is the psychology behind it. I mean, obviously there is also, you know, in most sales situations, there's a unlimited income type of dynamic. I spent from 2012 to 2018 in the automotive industry. I was a business development director, internet sales manager, a finance manager, and I was responsible for training the salespeople. And I worked in Highlines. I worked for Mercedes. I worked for Lexus. And I enjoyed being able to, so the department specifically that I ran, outside of the overall sales team, was the department that dealt with leads and converting leads into sales over the phone. So the internet sales department, the business, so I had a call center of business development people that I was responsible for training. The internet sales people is what we call cradle to grave. So they were responsible for taking a lead over the phone and turning it into, like, it was an actual salesperson, not like an appointment set or anything like that, and responding to that lead online, and then getting that person in the store to buy a car. So they were responsible for cradle to the grave, okay? So I have trained all different types of salespeople, face-to-face salespeople, phone sales, you know, people who were training or doing phone sales, people who were just responsible for setting appointments. I trained customer service, because that's like an area that I have a lot of interest in. Hold for just a second. I'm going to see if I can get the children to. All right, I'm back. Now, so that talks a little bit about my sales background. I have literally sold, though, in the industry and in regular retail, clothing, jewelry, several different industries I've sold, and even makeup, skincare. I've sold in a lot of different industries. Okay, so thank you for your patience. Now, I mentioned the fact that I don't particularly like selling outside of the part that I just mentioned, which is the aspect of being able to get someone to do what I want them to do, because I've been able to figure out a way to communicate with their subconscious mind, basically. But what I found that I was really good at, and that I actually do really enjoy, is training. And I found that very early on, which is why I've been training sales for almost a decade. what I recognized is that I could personally go sell whatever the thing was, and I'd accomplish however much I could. But if I could take 5 people or 10 people or 20 people or 100 people and give them the information I have that's caused me to be successful, then there's like untold wonders that are available to me and to them and to everyone and to whatever business I'm doing this training for. And again, because I'm good at selling things, I always find myself doing it. Now, one of the other divisions in my corporation, the corporation is called the Kingmaker Enterprises, Inc., which is why I'm referred to as the Kingmaker. One of my divisions is in spiritual and personal development. And this deals with a lot of like life coaching and even business coaching, but in a different kind of way than your traditional business coach would approach it, because I deal with a lot of things that most people won't talk about. So we'll get into that in a second. One of the divisions is a company called Life. So Life is an acronym for Legal, Insurance, Indemnity, Financial Empowerment. So this is the company, and I don't know if I put it on the flyer you guys saw, but this is the company that I do my recruiting through. This is the company, I have a website where when someone purchases a policy from me, I send them to the website and they have access to like a member portal and things that they need to know about their policy and what they should expect, and access to information on each one of the carriers that they can select their carrier. There's information on their broker resources, which David actually has seen, or at least one page on it. My scripts are housed there, all the things. And I created this as a resource, knowing that I used to have it with the previous company I worked for. I had a similar kind of setup, but I also offer legal insurance and identity protection as well. So all of that is coalesced in the company Life. Now, under the Kingmaker division, I deal in what I like to call mindset alchemy, which is I take whatever it is that you're thinking about, whatever it is that you're doing that's not causing you to be successful, and I show you a new way of looking at it. I show you a new way of thinking about it. I show you a new way to approach it so that you can turn something that's maybe shitty into gold, okay? So, and David we had a very small, short conversation where you experienced a little bit of that, but this is something that I've been doing for years prior to even getting into the insurance business, and it's really what I'm really passionate about. So anytime I train from a perspective that isn't just the physical information, it's also how to think about what you're doing, how to think about the steps that you're taking, how to set clear intentions for what you want to have, and how to make that turn into whatever the desired result is, or even better. So those are some things that you may not have known about me. So I will take questions or comments at this time, anything that you guys, need or want to know that I may not have made available with the initial information about the training that's available.
So that was a lot in a good way, though. I definitely didn't know that you had all of that stuff going on. I would definitely say I don't have as extensive of a sales background. Me and David both came from Sprint, and I kind of had a negative feeling towards sales, but definitely being in insurance now, and some of the experiences that I had and the people that I've encountered has definitely changed my thought process on sales. And a lot of the stuff that you were saying, it did really resonate with me, because now I feel like I'm dealing with a product that I actually believe in, or that I can stand behind, versus before I was kind of just, selling phones to pay bills. But anyway, but yeah, that's awesome. Like I said, I definitely didn't know that you had so many different things going on. But I would just ask you, as for like, what made you go into like actual life insurance? Because I know you said you do legal insurance, but what drawed you to life insurance?
So the life insurance came first. The legal insurance came after the life insurance. It was just,
Okay, okay.
but I mean, okay. So the website address to my website, if you want to check it out, is protectandempoweryourlife.com. So the concept for me is pretty much everything I do within the entire whole of the Kingmaker Enterprises deals with empowerment in some way, shape, or form. So every single division that I have, deals with a form of empowerment, one or the other. Now, life insurance was really something I kind of fell into. I was just starting my the Kingmaker, the personal and spiritual development company, and I had created a circumstance for myself that I needed another source of income. Being a single mom with 3 children. And without going into all the specifics of what happened that got me to need that situation, when I left the automotive, I mean, I was making a couple $100,000 when I was in the automotive industry. I just hated it. Like I hated
absolutely.
the time commitment. I mean, at one point I had a live-in nanny because I couldn't, like, my children were smaller and I just couldn't be there. And it made more sense to do that than it did to like put them in a day school and then still have to come home and like cook dinner and do the clothes and things myself. So I ended up with literally the perfect situation. And then when the nanny retired, I was still in the automotive industry. And then I had gone into finance, which meant, so I was already in the automotive industry. I was selling. I was in the finance and insurance division already. So I was already selling insurance in the automotive industry. So life insurance, in my head, it wasn't like that far off from what I was doing. And because because we say we're in the financial services industry, and I mean, in the automotive industry, you're selling different types of insurance products on vehicles to prevent their from being a problem. But the finance managers make a lot of money. So like more than salespeople make, sometimes more than the managers make. So my introduction into that before I left the automotive industry, I think put me in a certain frame of mind, and I was pretty successful doing that. But it meant, because at the time I was still an internet sales director, I was still a sales manager, and I was doing finance. So I mean, I get to work at like 7:30 in the morning and sometimes not leave until 11:30 at night. So it was just not the life that I was looking for. So then I quit and went to Florida because my family owns a couple businesses in Florida. My mom in Fort Myers, and she needed my business consulting. So I went down there and completely revamped and changed the businesses and made them more profitable, hired people. Like I did a whole remodel of the businesses and made them more profitable, all kind of stuff. But I took $140,000 pay cut to do it. So, family, you like, there was no point where we were like anything other than living well, but it wasn't the experience that I was used to having in my pocket.
Right, absolutely.
So, when I came to the insurance business and they were like, well, you can make 6 figures. I was like, I don't need to make 6 figures. I need to make triple that.
Right.
So, but this isn't my only source of income. It is currently still probably my main source of income, because a lot of the divisions of my corporation are in the infancy stage, right? So I'm building, like, the infrastructure is there, but I'm building up, hiring people, all kind of different things. So
it's a process.
It's a process. It's absolutely a process. So to answer your question, I kind of fell into it. Someone called me. I had my resume, and you all know I used to work for a different company prior to. I put my resume out there, and at the time I wasn't even looking. I just wanted another source of income. Like, I wasn't even looking for something that was going to require a lot of time and energy. I just wanted something I could work from home, or something that didn't require a lot of thought, because my corporation required a lot of thought.
Right.
So I got a call. If they would have told me what it was before I showed up, I would not have come. The way that they did it, though, was they said, like, you're coming for a regular interview, and they sat me in a room full of people who were to listen to this like 45-minute presentation. The person who gave the presentation was really good. So by the
Okay.
time they were done explaining to me the earning potential and this and that and the other and how everything worked, I was done. I was sold. And because I had come from a sales background, the concept of selling didn't scare me. I didn't want to do it. The fact that there was no base was not what I was looking for, but I knew that I had the ability. And then I was able to work on a temporary license. So I was like, you know, what's the worst that can happen? I decide I don't want to do it. I'll do something else. Right. Worst case,
Right. You weren't overly invested.
I wasn't. And I don't know that to be quite honest, I don't know that if I didn't have the option of getting my temporary license first, if I would have done it, because I still needed to test it out. I wanted to see. And because I was specifically looking for something that had some kind of base dollar amount, like I didn't have a support staff. I didn't have a husband or even a boyfriend that was living with me or anything. It was just me. And I had to make it work. So it was a little scary, especially because the other businesses weren't all doing what even that they're doing now. So that's how I got into it, hearing the pay structure, residual income. And I was like, I should have been in insurance the whole time I was in the car business.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'd have been retired. Like, seriously, I have been retired had I started in insurance when I started in the car business, because I would have been doing similar things, but earning residual income. When I stopped making $200,000 a year, that's all she wrote.
Right.
That was over. But I mean, I've learned so much, and I do think that the things that I experienced in training and learning in that field prepared me for what I'm dealing with now. But I still, in the automotive industry, I had a base, like, and I think I was too scared to do anything other than that, especially when the children were younger. Like they were 2, 5, 7, you know. So I had a base of like 6,000 a month. I don't know, something that was enough for me to not worry about paying bills.
To sustain yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then everything else I made was on top of that. So I hope that answers your question.
No, it did. It did. Absolutely. David, you got any questions? You quiet over there.
I don't have any questions. Listening. I talked a lot about this before, so it just
David, you sound super far away from the phone. Couldn't hear anything you said.
I said, no, I don't have any questions. I asked you. I mean, a lot of me had a conversation about all this stuff, kind of prior. So it just
Okay.
again.
Okay. Like a
But I didn't
refresher
know
for
that
you.
but I didn't know that your sales background went all the way back to being a car salesman and then going back to Florida to help your family. That I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't actually, I mean, I have sold a couple cars in my career, but I wasn't selling cars. I started off in the automotive industry on the service drive. I was a customer retention specialist. So my job was to convert people who brought their car in for service into buying new cars. I'm actually a much better in-person salesperson than I am over the phone.
Over the phone. That's why I would say that's super challenging to completely work over the phone. And I mean, to see your level of success, that's definitely what had me very interested, because I've done
Right.
a few phone sales, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely challenging. I think the biggest thing is just connecting with the client, and also just building like a sense of credibility, because I mean, you're over the phone getting people's social and their bank account information. So yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to address that in a second. Because what you said is very relevant and it's very much so what people think. Hold on just a second. Something weird just happened. Leave site. Can't hear. Why is this happening? Hold on. Know where my thing is. Okay. Make it. Okay. All right, guys, hold on. I don't know what just happened. Like my screen like disappeared on me. Let me turn this off. Hold on. I don't want to get a phone call while I'm on here, but I still don't know how to get my main screen back. I don't know what I did. Okay. We're gonna have to just figure this out. Let's see. What do you guys see right now? Anything?
No, it's just still you. I can still
Okay,
see
so
you.
y'all just see me looking confused.
No.
Trying to figure out what's happening. That's what y'all see. Okay, hold on. I'm like the whole main screen just like switched off, and now all I see is like it just got small, like tiny. Let me see. Okay. I don't know what happened. Yeah.
I still can see you just fine on my end.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
the way that I see you all changed. That's what freaked me out. It just kind of like it was a big screen, and then it just got to be this little, and then it's just weird. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, okay. So we'll just pretend like nothing happened. Okay. So when I started in the automotive industry as a customer retention specialist, my job was to convince people who came in on the service drive to buy new cars. And I just had to get them interested in turning over to the salesperson. Occasionally when the salesperson was busy, I would sell the car, but it was like very few and far in between. But it was a store at that time. I was working for a Jeep. It was like very, very beginning in the automotive industry. And the dealership was only making only selling like 60 cars a month. And I personally was responsible for adding another 20 cars a month to the dealership. So they went from 60 to 80 just because of what I was doing on the service drive. So they just realized that there was a huge area of opportunity. Long story short, a few things changed, and then they wanted us to do it differently. So we were doing it over the phone, and I hated it. Like I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. And then from there, it went because it was more like this calling the same people who would have been coming to the service drive, but getting them to come in and bring their car for that purpose instead of. So I had a similar kind of opinion as you did, Jakia, about like, oh, it's super hard. And so like I went into it with that and I hated it. And it was cold calling too. Like they weren't even people that were like saying that they were interested in anything specific. And I'm still not a fan of cold calling. Like you couldn't pay me. So I'm not gonna do it. But then from there, what'd you say?
I think you're talking in the background.
Oh, from there, I went into internet sales, which meant that we were responding to leads. Now I liked that. It was somebody was saying, hey, I want a car. So then I did very well doing that. And then I started training people how to do it. And then I had a department of people, and then I had a department of salespeople, and then I had a department of, so it was a gradual process. So I learned every single thing. And at one point, especially when I worked at Mercedes, like, okay, so I had the highest closing percentage in the dealer group when I worked at Lexus. And when I worked at Mercedes, like my bonus structure was tied to my show percentage of my team, of my staff. So like at that time, I ran a department of people who set appointments. So the store's show percentage was determined the level of bonus I got. So I got really good at figuring out ways to make sure that people showed up for their appointment. I created an entire system around it that I still use today for what we're doing, because it's really no different. Except for the fact that I feel like if you all are setting appointments, appointments are being set for people at their house, it actually should be easier because they're home generally anyway, versus setting appointments for people to get up and drive the car and go somewhere else. That's kind of how I viewed it. And when I was at the company I worked for before, that was the way the company was structured, where you didn't go and knock on anybody's door unless you didn't have a valid phone number and couldn't reach them. You've already tried to call them like 5 or 7 times. You set appointments and you went to those scheduled appointments, and that was the way that I was taught there. So that I think also helped me to get where we are now, because I had quite a bit of training and experience doing that. Now back to what you said, Jakia. Remember, I said in my introduction that I'm a mindset alchemist, right? So my personal and spiritual development company, The Kingmaker, So it's the Kingmaker 444, and that's a whole nother conversation as to why that's the case. But the overall corporation is called the Kingmaker Enterprises. What I'm going to tell you about anything that you do, and we would get into a lot of this in the actual training, is that it's going to work for you the way you expect it to. It is going to work for you the way that you expect.
Oh my God, you sound like Colin. We was having a whole conversation about this last night.
Oh, guess who says that stuff to Colin? Like,
Okay.
Colin and I were on the phone for total probably 3 or 4 hours with me dealing with his limiting beliefs around
Oh my God.
everything to do with this business and everything. So I think it's so funny that he's using his new tools. That's awesome. I'm happy. But no, like, seriously, we got off the phone last night at like 9-10 o'clock after, like, so I was on the phone. So I had so my previous insurance agency, the agency owner sold the agency, but the guy that was right under him, he was like, I guess it's the equivalent of like making partner kind of deal, like with the FB. He was like, when I left, he was like this close to hitting it. So now he is an agency owner. He hired me to do group business coaching with his team. So he pays me a certain amount every month for me to do a session every week. So earlier yesterday, I had a session with his team, and right after that, Cole and I talked for like an hour and a half until he got to somebody's house. And then we talked after he left. He called me back after he left the house. And then I had a 4:30, which turned into the AP that I wrote yesterday. And then after I got done with that, I called him back and we talked. So like Colin has been getting like serious business coaching for like a month at least. So, but
wow.
But I'm happy that he is taking the information and regurgitating it, because if we as a team can change the way we think,
right,
what's possible for us changes across the board. So Jakia, what were y'all talking about last night? He said it was that if you think it's going to be hard, it will be, or whatever.
Well, so no, I was just talking to him about some of my challenges in the business, and just like these, I was just telling him like about these past 2 weeks or so and how they had been kind of rough. And he was just telling me about like going into the field with a certain mindset. And I was just telling him how, a lot of times in life when you're dealing with something, when you're in the midst of dealing with it, trying to take on like a positive mindset or a positive perspective is a lot more challenging than when you come out of it and you can kind of speak to the situation and kind of, use you getting through it as a testimony. I was just telling him that, that can be a bit of a struggle. And I know a lot of times, like, you can go out in the field or just go out in life. You start your day off, you're in a positive mindset, your energy is high, and then you run across a situation or experience that, their energy is low, or, they have low vibrations, or however you want to say it, and they kind of affect
a door in your face, or
right, and it kind of affects yeah, and it kind of affects how you feel, especially if you kind of already in the back of your mind, you're not completely all there anyway. It's easy for you to kind of snap out of that mode.
Okay, so all of what you said is fundamentally true. I think I'm really tickled by the fact that he was telling me this. This is so funny. Because I feel like I was just saying that to him yesterday. He's like, look, he's already implementing it. That's amazing. But okay, so I want to address what you said, but I also want to address the original statement that you made about it being hard. Who was that? Is that Cam?
He just sent a picture of something and said he had to eat it in his last house. I'm like, what is that?
Oh, that was you asking this. I had to eat this in my last house. Okay, somebody just forcing him to eat food.
Right. I'm not
You
eating
talking
nothing
about
at
you talking
nobody's
about you
house.
talking about a
A
hard
hard
ass
ass brownie.
Coronavirus.
Like
I'm not eating
you're
nothing.
not forcing me to eat food from nobody's house. Like that's not a thing.
Right.
No. I barely, they'll offer me something to drink and I'll be like, let me see
Right.
okay. So let me figure out the best way to explain this. All right. I'm going to address in reverse. So I'm going to give you a tip if you're interested on what you can do to shift yourself or keep yourself, for lack of a term, high vibing on, Jakia on cloud 9, even with everything going to hell. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Picture. So I'm going to give you an example of what I do on the phone. So when I call someone and they don't answer the phone, I go, oh my God, it was so amazing. They picked up on the first ring. It was the best thing ever. And then they were ready to buy insurance right then and there. And then when I call the next person and they didn't answer the phone, I'm like, man, and they called me right back. As soon as like they apologized for missing my call. Isn't that incredible? Do you notice the theme here?
You're kind of like manifesting it.
Not only am I manifesting it, because there's levels to that, but I'm deciding to live in the version of reality that I want instead of the version of reality that I'm presented with. So your average, and I'm going to talk about some of the stuff I talked about in the training I did with the other insurance agency yesterday. Your average human being is stumbling and fumbling through life. Okay. Your average human being allows life to happen to them. But it's because they believe that anything can happen to them, which is why us selling life insurance is important, because the collective mindset supports the fact that they're going to need it anytime, randomly. Now, whatever your belief system is around this, what you should know is it is very possible to become the architect of your own reality, which is my tagline for the Kingmaker. It is very, very, very possible to become the architect of your reality. But it starts with setting clear intentions about how you want everything to work for you. So I'm going to give you an example. So when I first started getting Facebook leads for selling over the phone, when I first came with NASB, I was like, I don't really know how this is going to work. And the first batch of leads here in Georgia were shit. So Brian was like, well, we're getting a lot. And I think it was, I don't know if it was just a real low amount or the people weren't answering the phone. I can't remember. It might've been like a combination of both. So then he was like, okay, if you get your license in Texas, so now I'm licensed in 3 states, but if you get your license in Texas, the Facebook leads here, or the ones that we're getting here, there's more of them, or they have better results or something like that. So I believed that it was going to be better, and it was better. But it still wasn't the level of success that I'm used to having around things. And when I look back at that versus some of the other things that I was that I had set very firm intentions around, the reason I had mixed results is because I was open for mixed results. The reason that I did not have the level of success that I wanted to have around that specific thing was because I went into it going, well, I guess we'll see what happens. And when you do that, then you get whatever happens. But the problem is we see the thing that happens and we're like, see, these Facebook people be hanging up in my face. They be saying, they didn't even request this. I had a whole list. So I start drinking the Kool-Aid and believing that that's how Facebook leads work for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you following this far?
No, that makes so much sense. Like I've literally had these conversations with Cola, not just last night, but just in general. And we were just talking about how a lot of people who pursue success or who want to be successful, like they never really reach that full peak of success because they don't give it like 110%. And like I know for me, that's definitely the case, because it's just like if you reserve like that little bit for yourself, then you can, in the back of your head, you're like, okay, well, I'm not really giving this my best, so I can't be mad at the results, versus you going into it like, I know this is going to work. I believe this is going to work. And it may not work the first time, but just having that mindset is so much different than, like you said, it may work, it may not work. But I think for me, it's just like that fear of completely positioning myself to think in that way or to try to manifest something and then like it not play out the way I want it to play out.
Okay, so I'll address that. You always get what you want. Always. Always, 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 always. But God, angels, universe are much better chess players than you or I. So a lot of times, like, okay, so I'll tell y'all a story about this house. So I'm gonna do this just for the sake of I don't know if you can see. That's down upstairs, that's the front, that's the, so this is there's a level downstairs we see that light on. That's the kitchen, the bathroom, that over there is the pantry.
Okay, Law, you trying to show us that you're doing well?
Right.
I want to show you, I'm about to make a point here. I am doing well, but that's not, that wasn't the point. The point is that I stood in the kitchen at AIL and told one of the really, really high up managers that I wanted to buy this $1.8 million house. Okay. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna buy this house. I don't even know, like, so at the time I lived in Buckhead. I lived in a 3-bedroom apartment in Buckhead. And like literally within 2 or 3 minutes of me were these $1.8 million houses that were just being built. And I would go and look at them. I would go every opportunity. I would drive there and I'd be like, man, oh my God, I want to live in this house. Now these houses were like 3 bedrooms, 4 baths, and like a big loft area. And then there was like a patio off the loft area, which was on the roof. And I would go and look at it. And I mean, for months, I would just think about how I wanted it. And I remember saying, I'm going to get this house or something similar to this house. When I decided that I was going to go into motion to actually look to, because I needed, you know, I have 3 children, right? And then at a certain point, they wanted their own space. So when I decided to go look for a house, I found this house. It's not a $1.8 million house. It's like 700,000, somewhere in there. But I didn't have the money to put down on a $700,000 house, let alone a $1.8 million house. I didn't have $200,000 to put down to do that. So since I didn't, if I would have created this circumstance for myself now this house, no one had ever lived in it. So one of the things I loved about the other houses is they were being built from scratch, right? So I would be the first owner. The chances of me having a house that was brand new, just been built, nobody's ever lived in it, and then still be able to get into it as a renter, I was unfathomable. I live in Alpharetta. I thought that the place to be was in Buckhead because that's where I was living until I moved to Alpharetta and I realized Buckhead ain't shit. Like seriously, I really realized that everything that I wanted, and I got what I wanted on several levels. Have you all ever heard of Serenbe?
What now?
Have you all ever heard of Serenbe?
No.
Serenbe. Okay, so Serenbe is south. So it's like it's actually like 25 minutes from East Point. It's in Chattahoochee Hills. So it's this community like on 2,000 acres of land, and it's like there's $1 million barn looking house sitting next to like $1 million like estate looking house sitting next to $1 million like modern house, and all the houses are like Earthcraft certified. And I like wanted to, for years, I like wanted to live there so bad. And I also decided I wanted a second home in Naples. Have y'all been to Naples, Florida? Anybody?
No, but I've heard of it.
Okay. I heard of it, yeah.
I had not been up until I moved to Florida, and it was like 45 minutes from where I lived. When I tell you, like most of your like movie stars and actresses and singers and stuff have like second homes there, that place is gorgeous. So I decided I wanted these things. Why does the community I live in look like one of the communities in Serenbe? Like literally, and my neighbor across the street has a Serenbe hat, and I was like, how does that, what about that? And he was like, oh, we were looking at moving there, and then we found this place and realized that it looks just like it. I was like, I know. But my point in saying all of that is to say, I could have easily created limitations for myself on how I got to have the thing I decided I wanted. If I had said it has to happen exactly the way I want it to happen, which is in Buckhead, that particular house, the house was 3 bedrooms. I really needed 4. The children didn't need a loft space. They needed an extra bedroom. I wanted a patio off the master. That house didn't have a patio off the master. Guess what? This one does. Like, I got everything I asked for immediately, and shit I've been asking for years. But it's because I decided I wanted it. I got out of my own way. I removed all the limitations that said I couldn't have it because I couldn't afford it, and all the things that I could have possibly, I mean, it was a list. There was like a whole list of things that I could have used, that I could have attributed to the fact that this situation wouldn't be possible for me. The fact that it wasn't in the area that I thought I wanted to live in. When now I realized that this area was better for me than any of the other areas could have ever been that I was even considering. So when you said that you were afraid of it not working out exactly the way you want, I promise you, the universe is a much better chess player than you or I. What you think in terms of how it's going to work out, what if, just consider, your ability to come up with how good it could work out is nothing in comparison to what is available to you.
Wow, that's definitely a different perspective. I think a big part of that for me is like being so impatient, because it's literally like when I want something, I want it then. And I never really thought about, in my waiting season, like God or the universe preparing something better for me. I'm just thinking like, why am I waiting? Like, I want this now. But one of the things that has kind of started bringing me out of that is even me finding this opportunity, because once I graduated from college, like I spent 4 years at Sprint, and like, honest to God, during that 4 years, I was doing everything to get away from Sprint, like internships. I had revised my resume. I had paid people to revise my resume, countless job applications, and nothing was going anywhere. And then I end up meeting Colin, we end up working together, and then I found this opportunity. So now I laugh at it, because I'm like, if any of those other things would have worked out, I wouldn't have found this opportunity. Mm-hmm. So it definitely puts things into perspective, but I just have to learn really just more so to be patient than anything. Because it's like you said, like whatever it is that your heart desires, if it's for you, it's going to come to you. Like not maybe when you feel like it should, but like in the perfect time.
Okay, I'm going to say something to what you said. It's true, but there's another caveat there. David, what did you say right before Jakia was saying something? Because you said something, but I didn't hear it.
Oh no, I was just agreeing. Like I feel like I've always just had like a mindset of just going with the flow of the universe. I think it started when I read this book called The Secret, and they came out. It was like a documentary on Netflix called The Secret. Mm-hmm. And just like, and I read something called The Four Agreements. So I've always kind of groomed myself to believe that, that the best outcome can happen. And although it might not come exactly how I want it, it's going to come. Like you said, like the universe is a better chess player than I am. Yep. So, if I want something that's going to be 6 figures, if I wanted it to be 150, I didn't get 150, but I got 115, you still made the 6-figure mark, and you did less work than you would have had to do to get the 150. So, I feel like I always think and look at stuff from that perspective.
I'm happy that you have the foundation that you have, because like yesterday's group coaching session, I started off building a foundation of the fact that you can become an architect of your reality, because so many people are still not understanding or don't subscribe to understanding how powerful we are. And so the fact that you have that as a baseline, the fact that Colin's been talking to you, Jakia, like that is actually making this whole thing a lot easier for me, because it means that you're not looking at me like my head is spinning and green stuff is coming out of my mouth, right? Like you can immediately connect some area or some dot, something you've heard before that relates to this in some way, shape, or form. Now, I like to use my house as an example because it's a big thing, like a dream house. Like, and this house is like outside of, I would have liked a rooftop patio. I could have built it myself, like, and it would have been exactly this. So the fact that I was able to get everything that I wanted, I like to use it as an example because it shows what's possible. A lot of times we're working on stuff like that on smaller levels. So if it's possible in a really huge way, what would stop it from being possible on a very fundamental, smaller area of life, right? But I'll tell you this, Jakia, I don't really do patience. Patience really isn't my thing. Like I'm a Virgo. I mean, and there was a meme and it was like Virgos colon, patience is a virtue. Why can't hurry the fuck up be a virtue? Like, and that's me. I am not a person that's about patience. But what I'll tell you that I've learned is the only thing that has ever prevented me from having what I want has always been me. It's always been my own limitations that I've created for myself. I always get what I want. What happens is, like, even if you think about what happened before, you were out probably not applying to jobs that were like this, or, you know, a career opportunity.
Right.
That may not have, those were clearly not the thing for you. So you weren't, you were not connecting with it. But, and at some point or the other, the opportunity came to you instead of you going out there trying to do it. But if you were what it sounds like from what you said earlier, like dead set on this kind of opportunity with this kind of base salary and this kind of thing,
I was.
It's very, very, very possible with absolute certainty that you were blocking yourself from the opportunity that was coming. And at one point or the other, it finally made its way to you. It finally came to you. Maybe you let go of your grip a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you let go of control a little bit and surrendered a little bit. Maybe you stopped focusing on, it's gotta have it right now. It's gotta be this and it's gotta be this. Maybe you did that. And that's what opened the door. But it's like, I say this all the time, you know, we don't ever create abundance or happiness or love. It's ever present. What we do is we create limitations that stops us from having access to it. Always. So when I'm not at or having the experience in life that I want, I know something in my thoughts, my energy, my vibration, my frequency, some limitation I've created is causing me not to have it. I mean, I manifest, and you all have the ability to manifest like this. I remember I was laying in the bed night before last, woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was so thirsty. And I have a pitcher in my room usually, and it has water in it, so I can just refill it if I'm thirsty, because I live upstairs from the refrigerator. So, and I'm just like, but I really didn't want to get out of bed. And then I'm weird. So I like sleep with like the AC all the way up and the fan up. So like, it would have been really cold if I got out of the bed. So I'm sitting there laying going, I really need water. I really need water. I really need water. But I don't want to get out of the bed. I guess I'll just die of thirst. Right? So then within like 5-10 minutes, I hear footsteps going downstairs. So I jump on the children's group text and I'm like, which one of y'all is this? Ariana goes, that's me getting water. Bring me water. Like in 10 minutes, I was prepared to die, right? Like I was sacrificing myself because I didn't want to get out of the bed and get water. But immediately, like as far as I'm concerned, the universe woke up a whole child and had them need to go get water. That delivered me what I wanted. And so when you look at things that happen in your life, and I'm sure you've manifested a parking spot or something, a shirt to go on sale or something that you wanted, reservations at your favorite restaurant. You didn't have anything in your mind you didn't have any limitations you had created for yourself that stopped you from having the thing that you wanted immediately. The two things that require us to, I'm gonna say require us to have patience, but that causes a lag time between what we want and achieving it is any limitations we've created in our heads. And, well, there's multiple things. Limitations that we've created in our head, belief about if it's the thing that we want is possible or not. And I'll throw in there our worthiness around receiving it. And then number 3, not taking inspired action. So if I could have easily told, you know, the high-ranking manager that I wanted this house, I could have easily continued to think about it and feel like I was waking up every morning in it, because that's what I did. I could have kept going to look at it and put myself in a vibration of it and go to the open house. And I could have done all those things and then never actually start looking for a house. My lease wasn't even up when I first moved here. it presented an opportunity for me to help out my little brother. So I let my little brother and his wife and their 2 children move into my apartment in Buckhead while I moved here. So I was spending like $6,000 in rents for like 3 months. But anywho, the fact that I decided that I wanted it and I wanted it now, the money showed up, the opportunity to help a family member in the process showed up. But I could have easily been, my lease isn't up until here, let me wait. Or this may not be a good time to rent because of COVID. Or I can't afford it right now, so I won't do it. But if I would have never went into motion to do it, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have accomplished it. I mean, I'll be here a year in May. So I had to believe it was possible for me to level up to I doubled my rent. Like, I had to believe it was possible to have it and do it, and that I could have it now, that I didn't have to wait. So those are usually the things that cause that lag time. Now, there's some manifestations in life that we don't feel like any rush around. Like, I'm like, I want a second house in another country, maybe, Brazil or whatever. I'm not like, I got to have that by the end of the year. I'm not really making a Now, I do have a very huge manifestation that I do want by July. And I've already surrendered. I don't know how you're going to pull this off. But every time, because my daughter, so I told y'all my daughter is 16, right? So she turned 16 in January, but she doesn't get her license until July. So that's what that means.
Hold on, when's her birthday?
January 23rd.
Okay, mine is the 13th.
Of January?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how cool. So one of my best friend's birthdays is the 16th. My last ex was the 19th. So yeah, I like January people. So, but anywho, so she turned, but because of COVID, she didn't get her driver's license, like because of COVID, and she got in trouble and she got mad and she decided she didn't want to get her permit right away, but you have to have your permit for a year before you can get your driver's license. So she'll have her driver's license in July. That means she gets my Jaguar truck, which means I need something else. And what I want is about I'll pull up my math calculator here. Times divided by yeah, almost 6 times as much. So
girl, what you want?
Y'all want to see my vision board that's on my desktop? I'm gonna put it in our group so you can see it, because it's on the desktop of my computer. And hold on, let me move this out of the way because you can see I have 2 dream cards on there. So I'm gonna send it to y'all a picture and see if y'all can figure out what the cards are. All right, so I'm gonna send it on the thing. She's like, "What is this thing that you want?" You about to see. Y'all see it? So that's an Aston Martin and a Lambo truck.
So one of those is what you're gonna be driving in July. So yeah, just make sure I'm able to ride in it.
Right at this point.
I just want to take a picture in front of it and put it on my ground.
And y'all, I'm standing here before you confessing that I have no idea how this shit's gonna happen. But every time, and I'm gonna give you an example of what I do, and you can use this as an idea of how you can apply the same principle. When I'm driving my Jaguar truck, that's like a $60,000 car, I picture that I'm driving my Lambo truck. And depending on where I'm going, I'm like, no, what are we in today, y'all? Are we in the Aston Martin? Or are we in the Lambo? Like, I get in full character around it. And the reason I do that is simple manifestation tool principle secret to success is if what you want is over here, like if you're here and what you want is here, I don't know if y'all can, here, In order for you to be a match for the thing that you want, you have to vibrate at the same frequency as it. So if you're a person who wants more money, you cannot walk around talking about how broke you are. If you're a person who wants a brand new car, and this is a great example, let's just say, and Jakia, you manifested yourself a beautiful new car. If you had an old broke down car and every time you got in the car, man, this is so shitty. The AC don't work, the windows don't roll down, this, and you're always talking shit about it, and you're always feeling grumpy, and and you park around the corner because you don't want nobody to see you getting out of it. If all of that is how you interact with your car, you are not a match for this new car. If every time you get in the car, you're like, man, I am so appreciative. The fact that you have been with me for all these years, you've got me through so much. You got me through college. You did this. You got me through my first 4 girlfriends, my first, breakup. I'm so appreciative. And then every time you get in the car, you picture like you're getting into your new whatever you want.
That is so true, because I really did all of that when I got my Benz. Now apparently I should have manifested a little higher for the GLE, but that's coming. But no, seriously, like I literally would picture myself driving in a Benz, like, because I had got to a point where I hated my old car. It was nothing wrong with it. I just wanted a new car, and I literally shifted my mindset. I put I put a Benz or whatever on my vision board, like. It literally happened exactly like you said, like that.
You already know what to do, Jakia.
And it's so funny because I actually seen Jakia do this stuff. It's
you
so
did?
funny looking at it because I actually seen Jakia do it. So
I just be playing.
The fact that it happened, it just playing all over again in my head. Right
Jakia, I'm trying to be like you when I grow up. I'm doing the same thing.
Sis, I said I need to vibrate a little higher to the GLE. I'm trying to pull up with that Drake. I'm outside in the AMG, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. But no, it does go back to one of the things that you said, just belief and worthiness, like feeling like I deserve this, or it's okay for me to have this. Because I was having a conversation with somebody, I can't remember who it was, but we were just talking about how in the Black community, a lot of times we're kind of conditioned to feel as if some things are unnecessary. So we struggle with feeling like, right, we struggle with feeling like we deserve them or we're worthy of having them, because a lot of times you grow up with your parents saying, oh, you don't need all that, that's unnecessary.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I literally teach what you just said. So like in one of my money, so I did 5 free empowerment sessions, one on money, one on health, one on love, one on body image, one on success. And FYI, the recordings are accessible. If you want them, I'll tell you how to get it. But anyway, what I said in the money one was, we grow up being conditioned to believe that we're worthy of the things that we need, that it's okay to have the things we need, but the things that we want aren't as important. Like, okay, well,
we're stuck in survival mode.
Yes, we're stuck in survival mode. And our parents are like, well, I just bought you this yesterday, or I just, and then they have a fear of spoiling us and making sure we don't grow up being entitled and all this kind of stuff, more so in the Black community than probably the white community. But the idea that you grow up believing that you're allowed to have the things because you had everything you needed and you didn't struggle. Like it may not have been luxurious, but you had food to eat, you had a house, a roof over your head, you had the house was warm, you saw your parents working. So you grow up believing that that's what is available to you. And then when you ask for something that you wanted, either you had to wait for it because it's not Christmas, it's not your birthday, I just bought you this last week, or you don't need that. But in reality, I believe that everything I could possibly imagine that I want to have is just as important as the things that I need. And the reason is, imagine, just for your second, go with me on a journey, both of you. If there was no limitations, if there was no one who said that you couldn't, if there was no limit to the, to what you could have or where you could go or who you could be, or if there was no limitations, period, and you had all the accoutrements, the car, the house, the gold-plated baby carriage, whatever it is that you can think of that you want, would you think that you would be happy? Now, I don't mean this is a trick question of money doesn't buy happiness, but like, can you imagine if you did not have to struggle or suffer or work super, super hard to have everything that you wanted and you could just relax and enjoy life? Would you be happy?
That's honestly a question that I've asked myself. I think one of my biggest things that I've kind of tried to, I guess, understand or kind of move away from, or it's feeling like happiness was in my next destination. Like once I get this house and once I get this car, because I found like I would set goals for myself, I would reach the goal, and I didn't even acknowledge the fact that I had reached the goal. Like I was on to the next thing that I felt like I needed to do. And I was like, dang, like
You
I
didn't
look
give
at where
yourself credit.
right. I look at where I'm at now. I'm like, dang, like I didn't even acknowledge any of these things. Like for so long, I'm like, oh, if I could just graduate from college, if I could just do this, if I could just do that. And then it's like you accomplishing, like, okay, that's good, but whatever, I'm on to the next thing. So that's something I honestly been praying about, because I'm like, man, I don't want to live my whole life like chasing one thing to the next, and I never appreciate any of the things because I'm always on to the next thing, on to the next thing. So
I'll be happy. Yeah. So what you said is true, but my question was from the basis of this. If you didn't, and I'm not saying you have to concern yourself with if you can pay your bills or not, I'm not saying that, but think about the quality of life that people would have, yourself included, if you didn't feel like you had to make a certain amount of money in order to be successful, happy, whatever the case is. If you could just wake up every day and live life, if money, for example, wasn't a concern, wasn't an issue, wasn't something you even had to think about. Let's just say you had grown up as a trust fund kid. And I know a couple of them that may like woke up every month with 25 grand, okay? At least. Both of them were about the same dollar amount. If you woke up knowing that this money was gonna be there, and you didn't have to ever in your life struggle around if you could pay your bills, if you or choosing between something you wanna do and something you need to do, how much of a happier human being do you think that we would be if our life if we were not restricted, if we were not worried, if we were not anxious around something as simple as money, right? So my point in saying all of that is when you can get yourself, if you can imagine this version of your life where you have everything that you could possibly imagine and there is no form of worry or struggle, what could you do for the world? I mean, generally the people who are in this industry are good-hearted people that really do want to make an impact. What level of impact could you make if you weren't worried about just making your money every week, getting your commission check so you can pay your bills? Like the level, so, and I brought this up in response to the whole concept of worth. Like we're still semi-operating in a slavery mentality, right? And our parents aren't that far removed from it. Their parents definitely aren't that far removed from it. Like my father, if he was still alive, he'd be 86, 87. Like, so my dad and my mom were 20 years apart. And my mom is 60, she'll be 67 this year, I think it is. So anywho, but my point in saying all that is to say that generationally, instead of passing down wealth, we've been passing down limitations, right? We've been passing down baggage. We've been passing down lack of self-worth. And it's gotten a little bit better each generation because there's been more opportunities presented. People are willing to do more things. There's been more expansion around it. But why are you not, I have a YouTube video called "You Were Born Worthy." Why are you not worthy? And why would God, for example, not want you to be your most amazing, expansive self and be able to really change the world with all these resources that you are worthy of? Instead of, imagine how many lives begin and end where someone literally just goes to work every day, 20, 30, 40 years, and still ends up having a host of fish fry when it's time for them to die, right? Like, what type of impact could they have had? Right. What type of impact could they have had if struggle wasn't a part of it? So my concept, even about worth, is from a fundamental perspective. It's like, do we really think God wants us to struggle? Like, is that really how we like? And a lot of the times,
No.
you know, we're presented with information in a way that almost seems like that's the way it works, but it's not. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. So all of that to say, just like you manifested your Mercedes, I'm manifesting one of these two cars. And I have a third that's about $200,000 cheaper that I also really want, but I really kind of wanted that car for my second home. So we'll see. But I've decided I want the thing. I'm doing the things that just like you were saying, I'm getting in the car, I'm picturing the color interior, and I'm picturing how it looks and how I feel in it and all those things. But the key to getting there is I have to, for me, the key to you. So like Jakia, I don't know when you plan to start phone sales, but I'm gonna give you this now. You need to immediately, your biggest responsibility between now and whenever you start making phone calls for phone sales is to burn to the ground the limitation that it's hard or even harder. So like Colin said that to me, because I kind of told y'all that he was like, he didn't even want anybody other than y'all three to even have this information. So I'm asking him, like, why? He was like, because you make it look easy and everybody's going to think it's easy. And then they're going to, like, he was giving me all these things and I'm going limitation. like, and I actually have events called Set the Motherfucking Box on Fire. And what I say about them is these boxes are boxes of limitations that we live in. Like as we grow up, from our parents, like what you were talking about, how we're raised to believe that the wants aren't really that important, or they're not as important, or that we have to wait for them, or we have to struggle really hard before we can get them. We have to earn our wants instead of that we're innately born worthy of everything that we could desire. So what I like to say about the boxes of limitations that we live in, like we create boxes for ourselves. Like, okay, I'm not able to achieve this level of income because I don't have a team yet, for example. Or hold on, Aubrey, will you bring me my charger for my computer? That I don't know, it's gonna be hard to sell over the phone. Or I'm not able to I don't know, there's a million things you could come up with that you could create a limitation for yourself. But what you've done is you create a box, you climb into the box, you get super comfortable in the box, you have a couch in there, there's a 60-inch flat screen, you walking around with no pants on, you done ordered pizza. You live in the motherfucking box, and this box is not serving you. And what you're talking about, even with our parents, like literally what we do is we build a new house, but we go to our parents' house, we get all their shit out of their garage, we lay that down, and then we build our house on top of it. That is how your average human being is functioning. They're living off their parents and their parents' parents and the neighbor down the street that used to yell at them and watch them after school shit, not off of the basis and the foundation of truth that you create your own reality. So when Jakia, your homework before we even start phone training is to create a new belief around what's possible. When I was having that conversation with Colin, and he's like, people don't understand that, you're making this many phone calls, you're doing this. And I'm like, so last night I finally asked him, I was like, how many hours a day do you think I work on in insurance? And he was like, I mean, recently, probably like not as many, maybe like 5 or 6, but like before, probably 8 or 10. I was like, never, ever, ever, ever. I work, and I say, I'm about to tell you this, just my point to say, I'm just not that interested. I work on average probably 2 hours a day.
What?
Yeah. I'm just
not find out, David, that we've been out here driving around.
But it's not that
60 hours a week.
But it's not
$50 a week.
Now, mind you, let me finish my presentation before y'all be mad. So I promise you, it's not, when I was at AIL, I worked more hours up until the end. I got into a flow at the end where I literally only worked, and I wrote more ALP there because it was called ALP versus AP than I have even here. And it's because I had an amazing book. And I worked probably 2.5 hours a day and wrote 10K a week. And like on my biggest week, it was probably 10K. On the average week, it was probably like 5. But it was because I was so in the flow. But I had been that person that was out going to people's houses and doing all the things, but I didn't want to go into people's houses. I have a very acute sense of smell. I didn't want to smell what was in people's houses and somebody's pamper didn't need to be changed and some dog was licking my toes. I didn't want any of it. I was so ready to move into not putting miles on the lease of my truck. Like there was so many things that switching over to virtual did for me. And one of the things is I value my time. I value the fact that I could work from anywhere in the world because I plan to. I can't do that if I'm out knocking on people's doors. So I had created some very clear parameters of what I wanted. And I'm not saying I brought on COVID or anything to manifest what I wanted, but I was at the right place, positioned at the right time to get what I wanted. And that had been my goal for quite some time, like for years. I didn't even ask for money, I asked for freedom. I would wake up every day picturing what it would be like to be free. And I realized I should have asked for money. but I should have asked for money and freedom. I should have done the both. Because at one point I had money, but no freedom. But my point is, don't tell Colin I told y'all this. The reason I work as little as I work is also because, like I said, I have a corporation, so I have other businesses. So I work, like Colin knows this. I actually work a lot. I just don't work on doing stuff I don't want to do. So like I was up till 2:00 in the morning building out stuff on my websites and recording introductions for some of the products because that's what I want to do. This is what I'm passionate about. Insurance is not that for me. So I had to create a circumstance. I had to create a reality for myself that I could work very little and still be successful. But what I'm telling you is the whole point of the story is that this was a belief that I created for myself. I started believing years ago that the amount of money I earned was not directly connected to the amount of work that I put in. That I could make a lot of money and work very little. But it was just a belief. And then over time, because I was overworking for years in the car business, over time, and then they always made me feel like I wasn't working hard enough. Over time, I had to convince myself that I could work less and make more. But that was only my own limitations around it that stopped it. So I'm not saying to you that you should expect to work 2 hours a day until you get yourself to a point where you believe that even makes sense. It took me years to get there. It really did. Because for years, I made a lot of money, but it was directly connected to how much time I spent in the office, right? So I had to completely reprogram my brain around that. Who is that? Who's texting? Hold on real quick. So my child can never hear me. Does that make sense, y'all, though?
No, it definitely makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense. Yep.
So please don't be like, guess what, Colin? La said, like, don't do that. I will not hear the end of it. But the reason I don't want you to tell him is because Colin isn't at the stage yet where he, in his position, and y'all don't know this, but like every call that we're on, where they'd be like, oh, you have to work really, really hard. I'd be like, shoot me in the head. Like, I'll be on the call going, I hate the fact that we teach people that the amount of work they put in is equivalent to the money they make. Because money is just energy. Because money is just energy like anything else, which means your ability to obtain it isn't directly connected to the amount of work that you put in. Because think about it. People in the service industry, janitors, people with 3 and 4 jobs, people in so many different industries that have worked 2 jobs, 3 jobs for the rest of their life, they will be the billionaires if it was equivalent to the amount of work you put in. Shit, you'd probably be a billionaire if it was equivalent to the amount of work you put in. Hell, I know I would.
Yeah.
So that means that's not how it works. there's a whole nother layer that's missing. Yes, you have to do shit that makes sense, right? You have to do shit that makes sense. You're in a business that makes sense. It's a business that will get you wealthy. But if you create a dynamic for yourself that you have to kill yourself to get it, I don't want to be like some people that I've seen that look like, you know, I don't, if that's what being at the top looks like, I don't want it. Like when at conference, I was like, but I don't know. I'm good. I think I'll stay here on this level. And and not to say anything other than the fact that these are people who fundamentally believe that hard work and sacrifice is how you get where you want to go in life. And I'm like, fuck sacrifice. And if I can help it, fuck hard work. I have an actual podcast episode called Fuck Struggle. Because I fundamentally believe, think about it. At what point in life do you say, I've struggled enough? The struggle is now over. Does somebody come down and tell you that? Does somebody like give you permission to now live? Even I told this to Colin yesterday, even Colby was like, you know, I'll rest when I retire. He's not even alive to enjoy it. Like, and he's a freaking Virgo. Like, I get it. But that mentality, I don't want to wait until I'm 45, 50 years old to enjoy my life. I'm not going to put off everything that I want because that's the way that we're taught this old crank up archaic machine around success. Your success is directly connected to how connected you are to how aligned you are, how connected you are to the thing that you're doing and the energy in which you do it, your intentions around it, what you expect to come from it, how successful you expect to be.
Yeah. Can you go to the restroom?
And less to do with how much blood, sweat, and tears you've put into it. So all of that to say, I am never going to be a person who's going to train from the perspective of hard work. I'm going to train from the perspective of consistency because I think consistency is probably more than any of the other success. I have like 10 commandments for success, and that's like really, really high up there. I think dedication and consistency are major. I mean, if Oprah would have been like, man, I got cut, I got fired, I guess this TV thing ain't for me. Then if Michael Jordan, when he got cut from his basketball, you know, his high school basketball team would have been like, you know what, maybe basketball ain't really my thing. But his passion for what he was doing kept him going. It wasn't because he just worked really, really hard. It wasn't because Oprah worked really, really hard. It's because they refused to give up no matter what. They were so dedicated to what they wanted to accomplish that there was nothing that it was able to stand in their way. Not because they worked harder than everybody else. Not because, I mean, and even like, I like Grant Cardone, but he teaches be up before the sun. And I'm just like, I don't do that. I don't wake up until like I wake up and make sure my son is at, you know, doing schoolwork at like 7:50. And then on days I have to be on the call, I'm up at like 9:30, but like, really, I don't like get up and start doing nothing until like noon. And y'all probably like, the fuck? But I like years and years of having to be at work at 7:30 in the morning. I'm like, fuck it all. But I created a circumstance for myself where I was able to have it. So, Jakia, your homework is to believe that selling over the phone is the easiest thing you've ever done. That you're going to have time for your new baby, time to be tired, because you're dealing with that right now, I'm sure, or will be, because it's really hard in the beginning and really hard in the end in terms of like being tired.
Oh, am I?
You're going to have to believe, because this is what's probably going through your head. Well, I'm so tired. I can't make money if I'm tired and I can't get out there. And if I don't work like this hard, then the money won't come and I won't get to my next promotion, whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Well, all that's a lie. You have to decide that you get whatever the best. So think about, David, this is your homework. Jakia, this is your homework. If you all decide to do the training with me and we're gonna speak again, for our first set of, actual tangible phone training. Design how this business works for you in as much detail as possible. If you're going out to see people, if you're doing it on the phone, whatever it is. If there's no limitations, if nobody said you couldn't, if Craig didn't stand up and say, don't call people, if nobody was against it, if you weren't going to get a phone call, but like, why you ain't in the field? If you could make as much money as you make, how would this insurance business work for you? Like, write it down. And then your next step is to ask yourself honestly, why do I believe this isn't possible for me? Because the reason you don't have it now is because you think it's not possible for you. It may be a subconscious program now. So go through each thing that you think you want and ask yourself, is it like, why do I think I can't have it? And then your next job is to disprove it. All right. I said that I would not be able to make enough money or keep up my current production with being tired and being pregnant if I'm not working as many hours. Is it ultimately true that working so many hours is the only way to be successful? The answer is no. Right? We've established that. So that's how you disprove that one. Was that a good example to give you an idea of how we go through and disprove these limitations? So after you disprove them, now you should be looking at your, if anything could be the case, what would it be? Paper homework a little differently. You would have disproved all the reasons you can't have what you want. And now finally be looking at it like, man, I really can have these things. Then we just got to go on to figure out how to get there. That's the next step. Like, what do you physically need to do to get yourself there? But number one is you got to get yourself mentally in a space where those things that you put on that paper are something that's possible for you. And you do it in other areas of your life. You manifested yourself a car because you thought it was possible. What's the difference with this? Except for that somebody's put in your head that it's hard. Or maybe you went into it with the impression that it could go either way. You had a couple struggle situations, and then now you drank the Kool-Aid, so now you believe it's hard. But what if you would have thought getting a car was going to be hard? What if you thought being, female salesperson of the year or whatever it was, whatever amazing accolades you have, what if you thought that was hard? There's no difference except for how you felt about it, what you think about it. The goal itself doesn't really matter. It's all what you think about the goal. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So everybody got their homework?
Yeah, good.
Yep.
All right. So David, I did tell you I was going to address this. So with Date a Lot, I'll just tell you what I said because it's not it doesn't even require a script, because what happens is they call you with someone on the phone ready to that wants insurance. So I just say, oh, hi. I introduce myself. Let's say, are you they'll tell the person I have a licensed agent on the line. So I'll tell them, I'll get on the phone with them and I'll say, I'm actually not a licensed agent. I'm a licensed insurance broker and a final expense advisor. I don't call myself a benefits coordinator because everybody, every insurance agency I've ever heard of ever calls me that. And I just hate being the same like everybody else. So anyhow, So I'll say that what that means for you is that—
You said that you're a what again now? A what?
I say that I'm a licensed insurance broker and a final expense advisor. And part of the reason I position myself as a final expense advisor is because I want, if someone else tries to talk about insurance, I want them to be like, let me call my advisor.
Gotcha.
Instead of, because let me become a benefits coordinator, that's not really, it's not really a thing. But when people have a financial advisor and somebody wants to talk to them about an investment, what do? They call my financial advisor. So I wanted to again, that's a psychology thing. Karina, that's a psychology thing that plays on the person's subconscious. So I say, well, I'm actually not a licensed insurance agent. I'm a licensed insurance broker and a final expense advisor. What that means for you is that instead of working for an individual company and being limited to their underwriting parameters and their products, I have the unique, amazing, wonderful pleasure of working for you, my client. And I have access to generally the top 7 to 10 life insurance companies in your state, because of course I'm having conversations in different states. In your state, and I'm able to find you the best possible coverage based on your health, based on what you're looking to accomplish and your needs at the best possible price. So think of me as your insurance fairy godmother. And then they laugh.
Okay.
And then at that point, they laugh. And then I say, okay, so what brings you to me today? Because at this point, the person has already told me how old they are, if they're a smoker, if they're non-smoker, what city they're in. But at this point, like I like this way better than Facebook leads, because like I would call Facebook leads. Now, again, it could have been my energy and vibe about it at the time, but it was very like, oh, I don't need this. I didn't submit this. I don't know what you're talking about. Hang up. With these people, I mean, they're only talking to me at the point where somebody else has got them on the phone and they're transferring a call.
I spoke with the lady today, and I'm getting set up tomorrow, so I'll be able to take calls tomorrow. So I'm kind of probably going to be on it tomorrow with a
Good.
client.
I definitely.
Is this the
What I
data
was gonna
lead that
ask,
you were
though-
telling me about?
What is that, Jakia?
Is this the data lead?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me use that as an example.
How much do you think you closed off of that? Like if you talk to 10 people?
I mean, I can actually go back and look, but so probably 1 in every 3.
Okay.
So I mean, much higher than leads as far as I'm concerned, than like regular leads. But because these people are at a certain point, but some of like the reasons any of the ones I didn't close, a lot of times it was like, so my parameters, like you could set your parameters for age group and stuff like that. My parameters were like up to age like 89. So sometimes I get somebody with a Prime America policy that's about to go to a house note, but the whole life coverage for them, because of their age and all that kind of stuff, was also going to be like really, really high. And in comparison to the $300,000 that they had of coverage there, like it didn't make sense. They were just like,
And it makes sense for them. Right.
money in my bank. And I get it. Like at that point, it's hard to argue with that. I mean, I did, but like the ones that I didn't close, most of the time that was the case. So it helped me like refine like what I want to do in terms of that. But recently I've been just writing referrals. I haven't been writing Data Lot, but I did write a good amount of business from Data Lot. But I have a new manifestation around what my future in this business is going to look like. Y'all want to hear it?
Yeah.
I've decided that I will never have to call someone and prospect someone or convince someone to buy insurance ever again in life. That what's going to happen is all of the people that I've written up until now, their mamas, their sisters, their cousins, their next door neighbors, their coworkers, their best friend from college, all of those people, the people I have written insurance for are going to be so happy, are so thrilled, are so appreciative for me that
they're going to work for you
and give me someone that's ready to buy right then and there. And that person,
those are the best situations.
You said
right.
What?
I said those are the best situations.
But what if it wasn't just few and far in between? What if that was the standard? What if the insurance business didn't have to be up and down? What if it could be consistent? So I'm creating some very new intentions and rules for how everything works for me in this business right now. And the last week, 2 weeks of people I've written have all been referrals. Because as soon as I decided that, like I literally had no appointments. I decided it. I got and did my whole manifestation process around it. I was out running errands, didn't have any appointments, but I had stuff I had to do. I'm like going through the car wash and I get a call from a client or a text message saying, hey, would you call me? And I'm going, you get nervous when that happens.
Right.
So I got a little nervous. And then I was sitting outside on the bench waiting for them to finish the car because they were like detailing and all that stuff. And she's like, hey, my husband needs to put coverage on his mom. Yes. So then I was like, when y'all want to do it? Right now? All right, well, let me get home. Let me get home in front of my computer. Okay, so I got home. I was like, give me 30 minutes. So I went home. I actually ate. Then I was like, hey, can you give me this? No problem. Take your time. did that. Then while I was on the phone doing that, I get a missed call from another client. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Hey, I want to put coverage on my grandbaby.
Yeah.
Like, but I decided that's how it worked for me. So the day that, so what Craig had asked me about this morning, the one that the call I got at 10:43 p.m. that day, what was I doing? I was doing something that meant that I wasn't going to be able to spend time working on insurance, like at all, right? And I can't remember what it was, but it was something like, oh, I was doing one of my empowerment sessions. I think it was on Success or one of the ones, I forget what it was. And I had to go grocery shopping. I had to take Pandar somewhere. She had to go, I don't know. It was like a list of things I had to do. So I was like, I know I'm not going to have time to like sit down and call people and all this kind of stuff. So somebody's going to call and give me a referral today, so I don't have to figure that out. And at 10:43 p.m., the phone rang. And I just, every time I thought about the fact that somebody's gonna be a referral, I never had any negative thoughts about it. It was just like, I'm busy doing this. Oh, I know what it was. So I have one of my divisions of my corporation is in the automotive industry. So because of the time and energy that I spent in the automotive industry, when someone wants to buy a car, I help them do it. So there's like two packages. They can pay $100 and I'll tell them what to do, or they can pay $500 and I'll do the entire process for them, with the exception of signing paperwork and test driving the car, because that's legally, I can't do that. And like, I do deals all over the country. The last one I did was in Florida. The one before that was in California. The one before that was in Chicago. So I was working a deal. And usually the person has their car, like that person had their car the same day. So anywho, I was working a car deal and I couldn't stop and do insurance. So every time I thought about the fact that I didn't have time to do it, I was just like, it's okay. I'm gonna get a referral. It's fine. Referral's coming. And it was late. I had just got done what I was doing and I was about to eat. Somebody was coming over to cook me dinner, which was awesome. And the phone rang and I'm like, okay. And the person who called me was somebody I had been trying to write insurance for, but she didn't like sign up. Like I wrote almost her whole family. So she called, so I missed the call. I call her back and she's like, hey, is it okay to give this lady your number? I'm just like, yes, it is more than okay. So then I called the lady. I called the lady. So I told her to tell the lady I was gonna call her the next day around noon. Called her at noon. It was Valentine's Day. The lady said, I'm here with my husband. Can we talk tomorrow? I was doing something else. I needed a break. I was working on some other things and pushed back the time. We never got together. She ended up saying it was a death in the family. So when I called her, she wasn't available. There was a death in the family. So it ended up being pushed to the next day. But so she said to me last night, she said, aren't you happy that this got pushed today? Because I have a whole nother person to write in that house that I'm waiting till tomorrow to do, because there happened to be a whole nother person there that I ended up writing that wouldn't have been there the day before. So I also have a fundamental belief that everything's always working out incredibly for me. So even if I give myself a break, if I don't work, if I don't do this thing, I still get to make the money. I still get to have the AP. I still get to whatever. I don't limit myself. But just because it didn't work out today, that means I can't have it.
Right.
Just because I didn't.
Are you reaching out to your old clients at all, or anything like that? Or
not really. Like no. At one point when I was converting, like at one point I was very exclusively rewriting almost all of my AIL policies.
Because something that I do send out once they make that first premium, I do send them out a thank you card. And I have gotten some business based off of that.
And I think
they'll get the card and then they'll call me and actually I do want that. They're just putting me back on their mind again. So I don't know if that's something that y'all want to take away, but it's it's something that's
I think it's great. I just decided that I'm gonna hire somebody to do that shit for me because I don't.
Got you. Yeah.
Like I have gotten to the point like, okay, but I'll tell you this. I'm gonna tell you the bad side of it. Like I had gotten to a point where with certain things where like I don't like making phone calls. Okay, I don't like calling people to get them to buy it, even if they're a lead, or I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. So because of that, I manifested someone to bring to me data lot, as an example. Like, what you'll realize is when you decide that you don't want to do something, but you're willing to look at it differently, you're willing and open to still do the thing, then something will come to you in a way to allow you to accomplish what you want. But if I'd have been like, I don't want to do this, and then just stayed mad or upset about it or whatever the case is, I would not have been open for the opportunity to come to me, to someone who calls me on the phone with somebody already ready to buy. So I don't have to call them ever. Like, I manifested a circumstance where leads came to me. Right. And I'm paying equivalent to a booker and the lead at the same time without having to personally hire the booker, right? And there's no lack of consistency with the booker. There's none of that, because that's just not the way the system is set up. So I had done that. But at one point, like I told Colin, like I went and reorganized my entire closet instead of writing business, because I didn't want to do it. Like, I had gotten to a point where, like, I had a rough, I don't know, couple days, I don't know what it was. And like, I felt like nobody answered the phone. So I didn't want to call anybody. So I went and like reorganized I was like, I have been needing to do this for like 7 months now. So I did all the things, but I changed my mind around it. And I decided, well, who is to tell me that I have to do something I hate? Why am I limiting myself to say that the only way for me to make money in this business is if I do something I don't want to do? That's a fucking lie, straight from the devil. So I did exactly what I'm telling y'all to do. And I designed how this business was going to work for me. And immediately it started working that way. Immediately. I'm not quite where I want to be. Like, as far as I'm concerned, by the time I'm done with this, I'm gonna have people waiting weeks on a wait list and I'm gonna have to hire somebody to take all the phone calls and referrals that I'm getting.
Right. If you ever get to that point, I can take some of them off your hands.
But you can create the same thing, David. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, I'm not I think I'm pretty amazing, but I'm not any more powerful than you are. You understand the same things. I have a unique, I think I'm gifted in my ability to see things differently than other people and then to show them. This is why I do the mindset alchemy, because I can point out and identify ways of thinking that are preventing people from having what they want, right? So, but I have to alchemize myself, because I will start drinking the Kool-Aid, which is why when I do make a phone call, I'm like, oh my God. And so I have this thing now where it's like, people would never dare not answer the phone when I call for an appointment that we have scheduled. Like, it is impossible that someone would not keep their appointment with me. Yeah. It is outside of the realm of possibility that people don't answer the phone when I call. If they always answer the phone when I call, and if they miss a call from me, they call me right back. That shit started to happen because I created new beliefs that felt better than the old fucked up ones, which is nobody answers the phone and they don't want to give me their social. And I'll tell you this about the social thing. When I worked at AIL, it never occurred to me, because I was in a car business and we did this thing all the time. It never occurred to me that somebody wouldn't give me their social. Like, it didn't ever occur to me. And I never had an issue with anybody giving me their social. As soon as I would hear agents start complaining about people doing it, I was like, that's a thing that happens? And I gave them some tips on how to do it, but I started thinking about it before I would ask. And then it doesn't happen often, and it doesn't happen like anymore. But I realized I started to have some fear around people not giving me their socials. And then that happened. But when it had never even occurred to me that somebody could not give me their social, when my belief was that, how are you going to get this policy without your social? Like, why would you not? Like, how would you get this far and not give me your social? Like,
right.
When I thought that way about it, no one ever even hesitated to give me their social. So it's all about what you believe. It's all about what you think is possible for you. So, we've spent like a long time, and I've talked about a lot of things, but hopefully I've connected enough dots. This turned into a free coaching session, to be honest, but hopefully you've gotten enough information about me and the way I think and what I'm doing to cause you to feel like investing in this phone training is worth your while. And if not, I don't feel any kind of way about it because I'm on my way to my line of people who are lining up to be waiting for weeks to do business with me. So I'm like, and I'm bringing in like my perfect clients in every area of my business. Like I'm calling for, so like I realized that I was chasing clients a little bit and I'm not with it anymore. The people, I want the clients who are ready and so grateful and so appreciative and writing, you know, at least 1,700 AP on in each household or whatever the thing is. Like I'm creating very new parameters for myself around what's possible for me. And ever since I started doing it, that's what happens. So you guys let me know if y'all want to take advantage of one or two of the phone training things, and we'll get into some of the actual nitty-gritty of process and scripts and overcoming objections and best practices and like the tangible physical things that will make it easier for you to do it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. I got like 4 pages of notes.
When do y'all want it? So is that a yes? You all want to do that? You want to do the phone training? Is that a yes?
Oh yeah. I had already known I wanted to do it.
Yeah, I kind of knew after the way you responded on thing, you were like, I didn't realize until like we went to the event Friday, but I could tell from your body language, you were like, yeah, I'm down. You were like, yeah.
I'm definitely down because
Even to the point where I think I might, like how you said, like I might just something Monday and Tuesday, I might just do strictly on the phone, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I do out of not. I want to just mix up my schedule. I don't want to be doing the same thing because sometimes I'm out in the field from probably like 10 to 7. And, you know, be in the house sometimes and just taking that call.
How ridiculous is it that
it's a lot of time
shut down because of the weather?
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely trying to transition to more so over the phone, especially when I go on maternity leave, because I don't want to have to worry about.
Yeah, you don't have to leave your baby
or worry about, I need to hurry up and get back in the field.
Yes, but like, and that's why I think it's so bizarre that more people aren't talking about doing phone sales. It's like NASB lost what has to be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, maybe more, probably a lot more than that of money because people couldn't get out.
The weather.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because of Texas and wherever the hell they're having problems. Like the carriers were freaking shut down. I couldn't get Liberty on the phone yesterday and all kinds of stuff.
Mutual is all kinds of backed up.
Yep, they sure. I was on the phone with them like 3 times a day. But because of that, you would think that a circumstance like this would be like, this is even more so why we need phone sales. But there's
explore a different opportunity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many limitations people have created. Well, this is just part of the business. Some days, you know, it's gonna be a snowstorm. But then I'll be on the call and be like, y'all, I know it's 2 degrees outside, but you know, so-and-so was out there with one arm and 2 legs and half leg in 2 degrees weather. And I'd be like, would y'all stop with that shit?
Be real, like,
oh my God, I swear to God, I said that shit to Cole and I was like, watch that be like somebody was outside on a bike in the middle of the storm.
Like, why are y'all encouraging people to kill themselves? Why? They could just as easily sit at home on a phone and accomplish this. Like, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
In the heat of their home and get the same thing done.
For real.
But when you've created limitations for yourself, you're not even open to the inspired action that will get you to the next level. I could have been the same way.
Might be your opportunity though, La, for you to come in and give them that different perspective, and that might even, be an opportunity that you're looking for right there for you.
That's
David, you know I already done peeped that, right? We're starting with you and Jakia. Like,
on a whole
different recording
dynamic of different people that that want to do this at home 100% of the day.
I have already, there's a couple people around the country who've asked. So I've reached out and let them know I'm going to do this. But that's why every single one of our sessions, I'm going to record them because I'm not going to do this. I'm going to just sell the recordings.
Right.
But that's inspired action. around when I was at AIL, I sat there watching them do the training on Mondays and Thursdays, and I decided I would listen to the things they were saying, and I was like, I really want to change the way these people think. I want somebody to invite me up here to speak. And it happened like once or twice, but the same damn agency that I got let go from because they found out that I was, because they're captive, and they found out I was contracted with other, carriers, is the same agency that's paying me $1,000 a fucking month to train them.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
It is. No, it's amazing. And it's exactly what I deserve. And then some. But that's how you got to start thinking about it. Like, I started realizing when something that we would say was crazy happened and I would call it crazy, I'm like, it's not crazy. This is what I asked for. I got what I asked for in a way that I couldn't even imagine. And the introduction that the agency owner gave me, I almost cried. I was like, you really think about this? Like, this is awesome. And he was like, at the end of it, he was like, y'all might wonder why I didn't hire Oprah. She is Oprah. Like, da, da, da. And I was just like, shit. Like, I need to get, I don't even think I started recording until I started talking. I was like, I need to figure out if he recorded that part so I can listen to that shit over and over when I'm feeling down on myself. But that's a perfect example of, I'm over there going, I wanted to change their minds for free. I wanted them to invite me up there to talk about that in the agency in front of hundreds of people for free. And
go back to what you said though. The universe
is a much better chess player.
Right.
You or I.
It was too valuable information for you to tell it to him for free.
And now I have the perfect client who values the fuck out of me. Like, not people, like I'm not even throwing pearls to swine. I'm not even talking in front of people who don't value what I have to say or aren't in the right mindset to receive it. So believe me, like, so much is possible for us. And I think that the reason that you guys are on the call with me right now, the reason, even the fact that Colin is blocking the other people, is because you guys were ready for this information, right? You guys were ready. I've been working on Colin for a minute, but I feel like, imagine if our entire team started thinking differently about what was possible.
Right.
True. And
so I think a lot more
like,
people actually be more open to doing it this way.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because a lot of people, they have their license and stuff, but they literally haven't got out in the field just because they're not comfortable door knocking.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, if somebody would have recruited me for NASB and told me I had a door knock, I would not have come. Brian recruited me because he recruited me knowing, and I think Cam told the story about how he met me and stuff, but like, I would not be here if I was told that I had to do it to go and knock on people's doors. It would not have happened. I would have went back to the car business first, or I would have figured out another way for me to accomplish it. I would have still been at AIL and done it virtually. But even that, I didn't want to do it over Zoom. Excuse me. But you know why I didn't want to do it over Zoom? Because if I had a 9 a.m. appointment, I didn't want to get up and do my hair and fix my face and moisturize. Like,
right.
I wanted to just
want to do it on your own terms. Yeah.
Like,
right.
I'll write a policy in the bed. Like, a lot of the times, especially if it's in a morning policy, like, I'll be in the bed. Like, but I could be just as easy. I could be on the beach doing the same thing, which is why over the phone is literally the shit.
Yeah.
Because there's no limitations.
Oh, yeah, another thing too that I wanted to ask. So being that you're doing it over the phone, that means you can get licensed in more places, right? And work with more clients that way.
Absolutely. So Data Lot, like, I actually told them to put it in. I don't know if it's shown it because I haven't been using it recently, but I get leads from Texas and Georgia, more leads from Texas than Georgia. And then what I did was I told them to do is give me a list of the top. I don't know if I asked them for the top states or I asked them about specific states, and then I decided where else I wanted to be licensed based on how many leads they got last month in that state. So you can do that as well.
Can you send me the information for the leads?
For the leads, you mean Data Lot?
Yeah.
Well, David, you can send it to her, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. One matter of fact, what I'm gonna do tomorrow, the kid, when I speak with him, I'll just get all.
You know what? Never mind. You know what? Never mind. Let me do this. I have the guy, because what they're gonna do is they're gonna call you,
right,
to set it up. So I'll send him an email and Your last name is Harris. What's your email address?
Jakia Griffin at yahoo.com.
Oh, is Harris your married name?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on just a second. Because I realized that before the way that they have it set up is a little bit differently, so it doesn't make sense.
They might give you, I'm pretty sure they give you a little credit or something for referring somebody.
Yeah. Jakia, you said Jakia Harris, Jakia
Griffin at yahoo.com. I probably should change that, but
F-F-I-N
yeah.
at yahoo.com. Jakia Griffin at yahoo.com. Okay. So new person interested in data lot. Okay. So what I'm going to do is send you guys the link for, I'm gonna put it on the group for the group coaching. I mean, the phone training. The bundle where you get all the things that were listed on the thing. Did anybody have any questions about any of that was written, anything that was written on there in terms of what you get?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
I tried to do that. I tried to make it straightforward, but you never know. So I wanted to ask. Okay, so I'm gonna send you a link. Now, it's set up where if you can either pay all in once or you can pay in increments. If you pay in increments, it's just a little bit like the end result of what you pay is a little bit more. But it's because of the fee that they charge through the website to do those many transactions. So if you pay up front, you pay just the $250. If you pay in increments, like you'll pay like $55 a week or something like that. I'm not looking at it, but it's something in the general facility of that.
Okay.
So I'll send y'all the link. And then we just need to establish, which if we can do it now, that would be ideal. We just need to establish when you all want to start with your first session.
Okay.
Because I need to schedule it, obviously, right? For me. And then you all need to make sure you're out of the field or, whatever it is by then.
Right. Yeah, probably later in the day, like how we did tonight, would probably be a better time for me during the week.
Yeah, it's more ideal.
Yeah,
so like, is there a particular day that's like really good? Because I know you already have your like regular session on Monday or whatever.
Yeah, Monday and Tuesdays I have like recurring Zoom calls. But Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday is good for me.
I think we should, like Wednesday seems like that's I don't know about y'all, a pretty good day.
Yeah.
I think Wednesday might be the move.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do.
So are you trying to set it up where you have more in the class, or is it gonna be?
Well, I'm gonna give them the opportunity to. I'm gonna say, hey, we're doing it at this day and time, but I'm not like, again, I'm recording it. So as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't make any difference to me because I'll still get what I'm gonna get from it if they show up live, or if they
go back and listen to the recording.
Right, like it's not gonna change anything for me. So, hold on, let me see. So now I do work late. That is the thing, like, because I'm not a morning person, and you get a lot of people on the phone after like 5 o'clock, then generally speaking, sometimes I'll work until, and then because I'm licensed in states that are central time, sometimes I'll work until 10 o'clock because it's 9 o'clock there.
Makes sense.
So what's the latest on Wednesday that will work for you? Where you're still alert, right? That you're not gonna be
I gotta say, cause girl, I be asleep.
I know, I already know. It's been a long time, but I know.
I mean, for me, being I'm about to start doing
I
this,
can't believe I'm not dozing off now.
doing this second, doing this different thing with the calls and stuff. I'm pretty much a night owl anyway, so I'm probably gonna be up.
Me too.
So
we'll base it on Jakia since she's the
Yeah.
the mama. What's the latest that you feel like you're gonna be coherent?
I mean, I could set a little alarm and take me a nap. So if y'all want to do something like later on, then that's fine. I'll just come in, take me a nap, and then I'll be up.
So you're good for like
I
9
mean,
p.m.?
do you guys think during the week is better? Because I was gonna say maybe that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. So Wednesday, 9 p.m. Is starting next Wednesday too late?
Yeah. I
For what
mean,
you all want to do, or do you all want to get your feet wet and then come back with some feedback for us to work?
I won't say that it's too late, but I'm jumping out pretty much tomorrow with it, so
Okay.
I already have at least a way of doing it, you know what I'm saying? And then whatever I learn from when we do the training, and I implement it then, but I'm jumping pretty much all the way out there.
Okay. So the two things I think there's two different ways that we could do it. You can go into it already having the training, doing it as fast as possible, or you can go and get your feet wet, do some trial and error, see what kind of responses you get, and then come back and say, all right, this is what I'm running into. How do I deal with this? These are objections I'm getting.
Okay.
That might be a good way to do too. And Jakia, you and I kind of talked about that.
Right.
What's your phone number, Jakia? Jakia?
770.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
770.
Mm-hmm.
490.
Mm-hmm.
0044.
770-490-0044. Look at all these fours.
I know. I see 444, 222, and 555 like all the time.
So you heard me say what I said about how my business is actually the personal and spiritual development is actually the Kingmaker 444.
Yeah.
And it's been, yeah. So you're already on the same page. You already know.
That's crazy.
Contact and okay. So we're gonna start next Wednesday at 9 p.m. And by then you should be actually set up with your data lot and everything, Jakia.
Okay.
But I will tell
you.
So
they should probably be reaching out to me by the end of the week.
Probably as early as tomorrow or the next day, if at the latest, because I just sent the email. So assuming
they may reach out to you tomorrow, because as soon as you told me to be reaching out for them, I think they had already emailed me when you
okay.
just get the heads up. So
okay. So she actually called me that morning before she called you. But what I was gonna say too is what I would do in the meantime though is, and I told Jakia this yesterday, any of your leads that you like your regular leads that you have, just any, and I would specifically focus on the ones that you went there, maybe you knocked, you didn't get them, they either turned you away at the door. I would specifically work on the ones that you were not able to reach in person. Like, and I can only imagine, like, you go to a neighborhood and maybe it's further out or in a different place than you normally go. How many more opportunities are you going to have to knock on that place before that lead gets old or somebody else shows up? So those were the ones that I would actually, if I were you, those are the ones I would focus on.
Okay.
And yeah, with Data Lot, like I literally just made my script up on the spot because they're coming to you. So I just wanted them to know what they should know about me, what makes me special, but you're not having to convince them of anything. So
right. That's what the lady was pretty much saying. She was like, they called us, they ready to get set up. It's just a point on you, if y'all coming up to an agreement of, if they want what you have or the product, are you able to set them up with something? So
yeah, now I will warn you that with Data Lot, like a lot of them are seeing as to say you can get So this is the downside of Data Lot. You can get credits for anything for a lot of the leads if there's, I mean, like a lot of really good justified reasons to get credits, but people will have seen something online that says you can get $250,000 of coverage for a senior for $15. So,
Right.
and I'll be like, well, it's true, but it's like accidental death. Like,
Right.
I don't even think that's term insurance, ma'am.
Right.
And I'll say, right, you don't want that. So it's like, it's true. Like you can get this, but they don't have any idea how old you are, what your health is like. You know, I just finesse it, but generally they're clicking on something or seeing something, which is what's generating the phone call because of something that's like absurd. So you do have to like bring them into reality and do it in such a way where you don't make them feel stupid for thinking that was even a real thing.
Yeah, we get custom clients like that now that think stuff like that. We kind of like gotta bring them to
but
reality.
You're not getting
like,
no credit for it.
You said what?
Yeah, right.
I said, but you can't get no credit for that though.
Mm-hmm.
Credit for what?
Like if you go see somebody and they think that they're going to get $500,000 for $17 a month, I mean, you just don't close it. You can't go on.
Yeah, and you're not gonna get a credit from that on Data Lot either. Like you're gonna get it. So what you're gonna get, if you get to the point where you quote the person, you have to pay for it. If you get to the point where, like, if something, there's like a whole list of, like, they'll go over it with you. There's a whole list of things you get credit for, and I've gotten a lot of credits. So I'm gonna just say that I've gotten a lot of credits. Like I haven't actually invested more money because I've gotten so many credits.
Mm-hmm.
But I also manifested the hell out of not having to invest more money because at AIL I didn't have to buy leads, so I actually have some resistance around buying leads. Like I bought leads like twice ever. If we include Data Lot, 3 times. Everything I've done since I've been here, not been really because of leads, because the idea, and that's just me and my own resistance and my own feelings about it. The idea of paying for leads, I just feel like, because I came from somewhere where I didn't have to pay for leads. Now, granted, the commission level was lower. There was other things, right? But I just believe that leads should be free. So recently they have been, and I've decided that moving forward, they always will be. So we can all get on the money train and start believing all the wonderful, amazing things that will make our lives so much easier. I mean, think about if you could, and I'm not saying that Data Lot, I think Data Lot is a really good place to start. And it's a really good energy to be in, of people coming to you who are ready and want insurance over the phone. Like, I think just being in that energy is helpful. But when you do your homework, and we start next Wednesday, I'm gonna ask you, all right, I'm gonna ask you for your homework. And I'm gonna want to see that you've done it, and we can discuss it. But you get to design your life and business whatever way you want. And the only thing that's stopping you from doing is drinking the Kool-Aid of everybody who's telling you it's got to be this way and it only works this way and it's not consistent and whatever. Like that's their reality. It don't have to be yours.
True.
So
when you first started with Data Lot, did you just invest like a certain amount, like a significant amount, and just okay?
Like you have to invest $500 in order, because what happens is every time you get a call, they just take it out of your credit, your thing.
But they do give you an extra $100 too. So it's like you
get an extra $100 because you're coming from somebody who already has Data Lot.
Okay.
So you'll get an extra $100 for free just because I'm referring you, but you invest $500 to start, which means, but after that, you can set it where it automatically puts a dollar amount on there. I didn't do that, but so you set it up where it automatically like drafts whatever, but you at any point you could put $50 on it, you could put $100 on it. You don't have to keep putting 500, but 500. But once they do it, so once you get a call that qualifies to being charged for, they just subtract it from your balance.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but if you left no money in there, they don't like kick you out or anything. You'll just start, and then you create a schedule. You can pause it when you want to take a nap, or if you have a client on the phone. And that's the biggest advice I'm gonna give you, David. And the biggest advice I'm gonna give you, Jakia, is of using data a lot, is be sure that you are pausing it when you get a phone call. You have to go to the bathroom, you're gonna go eat, you're gonna take a nap, because you'll get phone calls and they'll charge you. I mean, you'll get an email with the customer's information, and I have pretty much closed any ones I missed, but you really don't want to miss it. It's a much better experience when they are handed over to you.
Right.
So
So
you-
lady
you
pretty
on
much
like
gave me
a-
that. She gave me that same rundown earlier, and then she kind of
Okay.
gave me like a brief training on how to use it.
Mhm.
But she said tomorrow they'll go more in depth on actually how to make sure it's paused or turned off, so you're not missing out on your calls.
And you set your schedule. Jakia, what were you saying?
No, I was gonna say, so are you on like a recorded line? Because I know you were saying like once you quote the person and everything, then
Oh
you're
yeah,
not
your
able
calls
to
are
record.
recorded. You have access to your every single recording. You can just go back and listen to
Okay.
it. Because like sometimes and there's a part where you can put your notes in, and I forgot to put my notes in one time, and I didn't remember what happened with that person, and I just went back and listened to the call. I was like, oh, that was this person.
Okay.
And you disposition the call however you want it. It's its own CRM.
So how do you do? Well, never mind, because I know you can email the signature. Because I was gonna say, how do you do like if you write like a Americo or something like that, but you can email them to sign.
Okay, so I do like phone sales with everybody, right? Like, so that means
Right.
everybody has to. So Americo has a phone application line.
Oh wow, I
Like
didn't even know
Liberty.
that.
Like I don't write as much Liberty anymore because I've been writing a lot of Guaranteed Universal, because I've been working on I've been writing for a lot of people who are younger.
Right.
I think it's a better move. Like it's the smartest insurance, and I don't want nobody coming behind me and beating my price. And I was still going to come back to them and tell them they should get a whole life policy for some cash value. So I got a whole plan on it. But I love Liberty because I'll be like y'all know I have a jewelry line, right? Like,
No, I didn't know that.
yeah. So like, I have a custom jewelry line. I don't know if you can see. This is how I paid for my expenses. This is how I lived while I was going through training at AIO, learning how to do insurance, because you couldn't get paid until you went through the training, until you got your license. I didn't have a permanent license, but it was at least a 3-week period. I sold my jewelry line, and it's called Royally Adorned, which is why they have crowns and stuff like that on it, which goes with the Kingmaker.
We're doing it. Sorry, to cut you off, but I gotta get going.
Oh,
Are we
okay.
doing next Wednesday?
Wednesday at 9.
All right, Wednesday at 9. All right, I'm going to put it on my calendar.
No problem.
Yeah, let me do that too, because I won't be asleep.
and then we're gonna go. But I'll be like on the writing a Liberty Bankers app and making jewelry at the same time. Like I'll be sitting there making jewelry, writing a policy. I have written a policy with Liberty hiking before on Kennesaw Mountain, because it's over the phone. And after a certain point, you don't have to really, after you give the information, you can go on mute and the person says everything. The company does it for you. Like when I tell you I'm about ease and grace, I'm gonna tell you about being the best, most efficient use of my time and energy.
Right.
Like there's so many things available to you when you start thinking like that, you see there's a whole new world of things that nobody's
That's
even
true.
considering doing. So, all right, wonderful session, you guys. I'm glad that we had a chance to connect in a way that we've never done before. And you all have learned some things about me, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys. I know that, the two of you have already proven to be top agents anyway. So with this newfound way of thinking and this newfound resource, there's nothing that will stand in your way from having the most amazing success possible. Nothing. I have all the faith in the world.
I receive that.
So good night, you guys, and we'll talk next week.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, have a good night.